Hi guys, there's been a lot of talk recently about a reset in relations between the UK and the EU since Keir Starmer entered number 10. One of the first actions taken was to send the Foreign Secretary David Lammy to Berlin and to appoint a sort of anti-Brexit minister who also flew to Brussels recently. But if you thought a pro-European Labour Party deserves credit for improving relations between Britain and the bloc, you'd be mistaken. It's actually the Tories that deserve the credit. Yeah, well, according to Conservative MP Alicia Kearns.
Look, Rishi Sunak was the one that got the Windsor Agreement through that people didn't think was going to happen. It was an incredibly positive move forward. It was Rishi Sunak who volunteered to host the European political community here at Blenheim Palace and has done all that work. Macron hosted the first one. It was his initiative. The fact that the UK and the Conservatives said, let us host the second one. We left the European Union. We didn't leave the European community. And that matters deeply to me that we still have positive relationships with them. So I'm really pleased it's happened. I agree with John. You don't always need a deliverable. Some of these conferences, we wouldn't have seen any either because the Labour government hasn't had time to work them up. It takes months to work up deliverables. But I'm really pleased it's happened. I'm really pleased it happened. But I do think it's interesting, the narrative that it's almost, they're forgetting that it was in place before Labour won governance, that it's some great reset, whereas actually it was us that had offered host it, us that would bring it forward, and it was a signal that we wanted a good relationship with our European.
Oh God, then why the hell didn't Rishi Sunak stay in place until November, for example, and get this one under his belt? He could have said, look, let's have the election in November and then have this meeting and say, see, look at me, I'm rebuilding relations with the European Union. But he didn't. He called the election early and gave this opportunity to the Labour Party. Look, he knew he was going to lose the election. So he could have easily held it in November and then used this as an excuse, as an example of an improvement in relations with the European Union. But he didn't. Now, credit where it's due. This meeting was originally set up, I believe, in 2022. So it was when Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister. But also, he did get the Windsor Framework through Parliament. But why was it necessary to get the Windsor Framework through Parliament? Because of the damage that the predecessors had done to the relationship with the European Union. Liz Truss and Boris Johnson, constantly threatening to trigger Article 16, constantly threatening an economic war, a trade war with the European Union. They were going down the political route. We need to fight the European Union, not be friends with the European Union. So Rishi Sunak tried to reset that relationship. But the problem Rishi Sunak always had was that, well, apart from him being a Brexiteer, was that his party was divided. The One Nations wanted to have a good relationship with the European Union, while the Brexiteers wanted to go in the opposite direction. They wanted to go in the opposite direction of alignment with EU standards. So Rishi Sunak was always going to have problems. At least with the new Labour government, the Labour Party is pretty much all on board with having a better relationship with the European Union and eventually rejoining the European Union, I think, in the future. That's not the case with the Conservatives. So while Rishi Sunak was trying to perhaps improve things, he was always looking over his shoulder at the Brexiteers in his party who were ready to stab him in the back, to have him removed because he wasn't a true Brexiteer. As I said, credit where it's due. He tried to improve relations with the Windsor Framework. He reached out to the European Union to have this meeting, and this is a good thing. But you can't describe it as a reset because his party was not fully on board. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.